Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicole Hennessy. I'm Vice President and Director of Communications at the Music Business Association. So glad to have you here today, and we welcome you to the Music Biz Passport. This series of virtual events allows music professionals to connect with local music economies and expose important cross-border collaborations that will make the worldwide music industry stronger. Be sure to check out musicbiz.org for upcoming events on Japan and Mexico, as well as past webinar recordings that feature China, French hip hop, Brazil, Ghana, Africa, and the Nordic music scene. Viewing of these webinars live or the recordings are free to both association members and non-members alike. Again, musicbiz.org under the Events tab. Music Biz also has a slate of resources that are complementary to the industry at large. They include our Common Ground webinar series that offers exclusive looks at new tech and services advancing the industry, data from Music Biz's trusted research partners, and a seat at the table at roundtable discussions on timely issues. To keep the global music industry up to date on what's now and what's next, Music Biz discusses hot button issues with professionals and its music community through interviews on our Future of What podcast, as well as op-ed articles and Q&As during its Keeping Tempo blog. Again, visit musicbiz.org to take advantage of these educational resources. I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to talk about our flagship annual event, Music Biz 2026, that will be held May 11th through the 14th in Atlanta, Georgia. The event brings together global music industry professionals, 2,500 of them, from over 800 companies in 32 countries around the globe. Many call this the 4 most productive days on the music industry calendar. You can check it out at musicbiz2026.com or musicbiz.org under the Events tab. Just pull down to Music Biz 2026. Registration and hotel bookings are open. Our call for presentations are also open. That gives the industry a chance to submit programming ideas, and we're also currently selling sponsorships and meeting rooms. So it's a great way to, reserve some private space for your company to meet with others. Again, musicbiz2026.com. Now, let's talk about today's presentation. We have China Reality Check, where we'll hear from experienced panelists sharing their perspectives on the Chinese market. They'll discuss opportunities and pitfalls and shed some light on one of the music industry's hottest yet most least understood topics. Today's presentation is organized by Alex Taggart of Isle of Management, who's also going to be moderating the discussion. And he's joined by representatives from Gosha, Water Sound Studio, and Mayman Greenspan Fox, Rosenberg, Mobizer Younger, and Light LLP. If you have questions for our panelists during the presentation, there's a Q&A box on your screen. Be sure to put your questions for our panelists in that box, and questions will be answered if time allows. If you want to chat amongst each other, I see some of you guys already are, there's a chat box on your screen. Introduce yourself, tell us where you're from geographically, which company that you represent here today, and chat amongst yourselves. Elena, who's here helping me today, will also be putting in some email addresses and links that go to important information here at Music Biz. So be sure you're active in that chat box. So without further ado, I want to thank our panelists for being here today. Those who are in China, it's 3 a.m. So thank you. We greatly appreciate your time and the sharing of your expertise. So Alex, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Okay, thanks very much. So we have Jen, we have May, and we have Christy. Okay, great. Hi, everyone, and welcome to this panel discussion, China Reality Check. Thanks so much for joining, and we're really, really happy to have everyone here. Particularly, just want to shout out quickly that, like Nicole mentioned, May and Christy are both in Beijing at the moment, where it is 3 in the morning. So special thanks to them for sacrificing their sleep. My name, as Nicole said, my name is Alex Taggart. I am an artist manager. My company is called Isle of Management. We manage artists and also consult for artists and music companies to help them navigate the Chinese market and generally grow their business in China. I studied Chinese in college, then lived in Beijing for about 10 years, working in the music industry out there before moving to Los Angeles and starting Isle of Management. the panelists today, we have a huge wealth of experience on the panel. Three longtime friends of mine who have been working in this space for a long time. I want to make sure we get to explore everyone's expertise as much as possible. And I'd like this to be something of a free-flowing discussion if possible. So while I will be directing the questions to one person or another, I'd really encourage everyone to jump in and share their perspective if they feel like they have something else to share, which I'm sure will be happening a lot. Because I think all the attendees, and I can see the number growing there. That's great. We've got a lot of people. I think everyone, the attendees will really benefit from it. So the great thing here is that between them, these panelists cover basically everything we could want to know about. But as I'm sure everyone can understand, China is a huge and complex market, and there's no way we're going to be able to cover absolutely every element in the time we have. But hopefully, we can go some way to at least giving everyone a solid grounding, or at least knowing where to start, or knowing what questions to ask next, or knowing where your particular areas of interest that might be worth exploring if you want to take your next steps. So. We're setting aside some time for questions at the end. So please do submit those as you think of them. And I think there's a Q&A box where you can submit those questions. And there is also the chat if you just want to check in and say hi. I think we've got some people doing that already. That's amazing. So first of all, I think it would be good and helpful for everyone to get a little background on who everyone is and their role in the industry, just to give people a little context. Let's start with Jen. Do you want to kick things off? Do a little intro?
Absolutely. Thank you everyone for having me. Thank you, Alex, for inviting me to be on this wonderful, wonderful panel today. So my name is Jennifer Marr. As you guys could see from the flyer, I am a music attorney for a law firm that's a bit of a mouthful, but in the industry, everyone just kind of knows us as Mime and Greenspan. We are considered sort of one of the top tier boutique talent side representation firms. We focus on music contracts, deal making, really being not just the paperwork pushers for our clients, but also, overall legal business strategic advisors. I've been here for 3.5 years. I'll give a little more of my background before this. So I was born in the Bay Area, but I grew up in Shanghai, where I attended international school for 10 years. So, I was able to be in China in the kind of 2000s when it was really rapidly developing, which was very exciting. I went to university at the University of Southern California. I double majored in, again, sorry, this is a mouthful, but I did international relations, global business, as well as a major in East Asian language and culture. Originally, my dream was to kind of be a Chinese diplomat, but for better or worse, I took to the siren song of concerts and live events and fell completely head over heels in love with music, music industry, the music business. And so when I went straight through to Harvard Law School right afterwards, I was very fortunate to discover that there is a very real path in music law that exists. I've spent some time working at Sony and also in corporate M&A in the entertainment space. And I've also, dabbled a bit in sort of event promotion and agenting. So I've really seen the industry from all aspects. And now in my current practice, one of my specialties is working with Asian diaspora artists, especially Chinese artists, since I grew up there and speak Chinese. And so what that means is there's a mix of clients I work with who are, Asian American, who want to engage more with the diaspora, or who are from Asia, like China, and I'm helping with their North American strategy.
Thanks so much, Jen. And I'm sure Jen works on some amazing clients, and I'm sure we will get into that during the discussion. So May, let's go to you. Give a quick intro.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thanks, Alex, for inviting. My name is May. I've been in the music industry in China for 6, 7 years. A little bit about my background is that I grew up in China, and then I attended college in Boston. I received my bachelor degree. Well, my major for college was administration, but then I found myself like very into music. So I found a way to be really into in the music industry. I've worked with Chinese music artists of different tiers, and now what I mainly focus on is first of all artist management and also song publishing. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are definitely topics we're going to touch on, particularly we'll get into publishing at some point because that is a very exciting and very, very complex and fun area of the business. Thanks so much, May. So, Christy, let's go to you.
Yes, thanks, Alex. Hi, everyone. I'm Christy, and so I'm the founder and co-owner of Waterstone Studio, a Beijing-based production, recording, and post-production studio. And so, and we work with a lot of top-level Chinese local artists on the production and post-production side. And on top of that, I've been a marketing specialist for international artists in China for about 6 years now, and have worked with quite a lot of amazing talents in the US and the UK music business. And background, so I went to New York University, which I'm like proudly representing, wearing my hoodie today. So, and I'm majored in media communication. And while I was in college, I also had my attempt of being an artist, like every child, like in the music industry, and then like think that they can sing. So yeah, so I had my experience being on the artist side, being on like TV shows, festivals and stuff, experienced all that, and was able to take that with what I'm doing right now, like more on like behind the scenes. So very excited to have this great discussion with these amazing panelists here.
Thanks, Christy. And I'm going to say it, Christy was in one of the last rounds of The Voice in China. And that's something that I say every time I'm introducing Christy to people.
Just to embarrass me, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, firstly, I'd like to, as we get into it, I'd like to look at probably what most people, the reason why most people are joining this this panel today. They want to know how to, they're a manager or a label who wants to know how to grow an artist's presence in China. This is the topic of discussion that probably most of us who operate in the space, it's the discussion that we have most often. And this can be a very daunting and confusing process for a lot of people. But it can also be ultimately very rewarding if done the right way. But if done the wrong way or for the wrong sort of reasons, it can be a massive waste of time and money. So we're going to try and give as much information as we can on this complex question. So before we talk about strategies, we should probably talk quickly about the landscape of the platforms that exist, since it's almost an entirely different landscape to what you see in most countries, and certainly different to the West. So May, perhaps you could give us a brief overview of the different Chinese DSPs and how they differentiate from one another.
Yeah, sure. The DSPs in China, I would say it's kind of interesting to describe because I would say they are mainly, we can't talk about DSP if we don't talk about, the three major music groups in China, which are the first one, TME, Tencent Music Entertainment Group, and then the second one, that is NetEase. And then the third one would be ByteDance, so the mother company of Chinese TikTok, and 汽水音乐. Okay, so first, a little bit about TME Group. It's definitely the dominant. It definitely plays a dominant role in all the Chinese DSPs. They have the most budget to get the most, user number, or the expensive music licensing. So I believe they have the major three DSPs, which are called the first one QQ Music, and then the second one Kugo Music, and then the third one Kuwo. With the QQ Music definitely being the most influential DSP platform in China. And then I would say TME Group, their style is like, because they have money, so that they would definitely chase the good numbers. I would say Mando Pop music lovers love TME Group and love their DSPs. And then the second one is very NetEase is pretty different from all the TME groups because they don't have that much budget as TME group does, but they're more into like indie kind of styles, like maybe like rock, like R&B, alternative. And for some indie music artists, I believe that they are definitely they're more likely to be NetEase lover instead of like TME group or like Qishui lover, you know. Um, and then the very third group, which is the ByteDance group, because they also got a big budget. So they recently, within the last 1 or 2 years, I believe their DSP is called Qishui 音乐, Qishui app in China. The user number grew like super fast, and now they're I would say maybe they're about the third user in terms of user number in China. Yep. And I think their user highly correlates with Douyin users, Douyin, which is the Chinese TikTok, who are mostly into Mando pop with like super catchy melodies and lyrics. Yep, I believe that's about it.
Yeah, thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, May. That's a really really great rundown. Christy, so just to sort of fill out that landscape with the social platforms, obviously May mentioned Douyin. Could you talk about the couple of other social platforms that are relevant to people?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like, we have like China has like a totally different social media landscape as the rest of the world, because we are like behind a firewall. So we do have an equivalent of everything that exists on the Western app stores. So the few big players right now is, of course, number one, Red Note, which went quite popular during the TikTok refugee period earlier this year. And so Red Note is sort of like the Instagram of China. It does have a very, very strong e-commerce background and elements to it, but it has started out as like a lifestyle sharing platform, and now it has basically become the Gen Z search engine. People use it for everything, for sharing everything. So that's absolutely a main platform that when an international artist is trying to enter China market, they hop on it. And the second big player, of course, is Douyin, the Chinese TikTok. Just to add on what May just said about being under ByteDance, there is the social media platform Douyin and also Soda Music, their own DSP. It's because Douyin doesn't allow outside links to be linked to it. So it's unlike TikTok, you can link a Spotify link, you can link a YouTube link, but on Douyin, it's strictly, when it comes to music, strictly only allow you to link Soda Music's, their own DSPs. That's why they have been attracting all those new users, because if you like a song on Douyin, it directs you to their own DSPs. So that's sort of how it relates there. And we, again, like on the social media side, we also have Weibo, that's sort of like Twitter or Facebook. It's a little bit in the past, it used to be like a more of like an official announcement channel for big local artists, but it's still a big platform, but it's a little bit sort of in the dust now. A lot of artists chose to not actively keep up with that platform. And then we also have Bilibili, which is the YouTube of China. It's a long form video platform. It does have a short form function built into it, but it started out more in the ACG, gaming, anime realm. So it's more about long form content, and it encouraged secondary creations and all that. And then lastly, we have WeChat video channel. It's a built-in TikTok-like function that is in this app called WeChat, which is basically the biggest and most used app. I would say Southeast Asia, probably not only mainland China, because it's a chatting app. Also, it has e-payment system built into it, and also now the entertainment function. So yeah, so that's basically the social media landscape of
Yeah.
China.
So only 10 or 12 different apps that you have to get to grips with. So we can
Yes.
tell that this is going to all be very simple. So okay, right now we've got that grounding. I'd like to talk a little bit, and this is kind of for everybody, so everyone feel free to jump in, but from an artist perspective, what are the indicators that it's worth the an artist or managers or labels time to lean into the market? What are the things that you're looking for? If someone approaches you and says, hey, like, am I popular in China? Like, what do people care? What are the key things? And that's for maybe, I don't know, maybe we could start with Christy, because I know you have some recent relevant examples.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So in my work doing marketing or like management marketing work for international artists in China, I've only encountered a few different cases. There are like amazing similarities to all those different clients. So number one is either you're a mega star, like Taylor Swift, or like Sabrina Carpenter, The Weeknd, like someone who is already very, very established in their home territory and internationally, then it's a no-brainer that you would be able to make some numbers in China. Or if you're like up and coming, but you're already like seeing some responses from your local audiences. A very great example probably would be Lei Wei, Icelandic Chinese jazz singer. I started working with her right before her second studio album From the Start was gonna release. So back then she is not as big, but still like she is already attracting like great numbers across the whole industry. So it was not hard for her to grow in China. Or like another example is like someone like Dua Lipa, who is just basically a global megastar. So she's already got great fan base in China. All we have to do is garner those people together, point them to like an official account or something like that, and it's easy enough to do that. So that's scenario number one, already a global sensation. And scenario number two is actually quite interesting, is if you already had a hit song in China. This can happen while you're not like aware, while the artist or the management company or the label is not even aware. We've had numerous cases where a English song, or there's one incident where a French song, like fully in French, just blew up on Douyin. It's getting like billions of plays every single day. And they're like, I guess the label is getting weird numbers from this one territory, and they start digging and they found out that, oh my God, like it just randomly got picked up. So in this kind of scenario, even if you already have, you only have like a very small audience in your home territory, or like you only have a couple of thousand fans on your Instagram or something, you still stand quite a chance if you're trying to enter China, because you already have something that's very recognizable by the local audiences. So that's the second scenario. And the third scenario would be if the artist has a very strong tie to China, if they have the Chinese heritage, or if they're very, very interested in the country and the culture and willing to lean in. They're like willing to learn Chinese. They want to put out Chinese, like China related social media content every single day. They just want to show that love and passion for the market, then like that's also a great indicator that maybe the artist should try to do something in China territory. So for me, it's like those three main things. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and I just want to jump on something you said there, because you mentioned artists with heritage from China and Taiwan, and obviously and this is so for Jen, a number, as Jen mentioned, a number of your clients are from China and Taiwan, but would often be more kind of categorized as global artists. A significant portion of their fan base is outside of China. So for artists in that position, how do you see them navigating the question of how much of their focus they put on the Chinese market, and what effect that has on their kind of overall bandwidth?
Yeah, I think I mean, it always depends a little on their goals, right? Usually when a client kind of crosses my desk and we're taking a meeting, part of their goal is to kind of break through globally via breaking through America, which for better or worse, people still consider breaking here to be the gateway to that global success. It's something that not just Chinese artists are obsessed with, but even like Japanese artists and things like that. This is still very much considered a bit of a mecca of a market. And I would say that it's definitely tough. It definitely splits your bandwidth. I think whether you are a Western artist trying to break China or a Chinese artist trying to break America, I think there's a minimum level of time and financial investment you have to put into it. I think physically you have to be in the market where you're really trying to push. So if they're already established in China and they're really trying to break through here, they need to be here. They need to be here developing relationships, and they really need to learn those different norms, those different styles. I think the biggest things are, physical presence, like I just talked about, but even what Christy was talking about and May with these different DSPs, different DSPs mean different DSP strategy, means different people to network with. Social media is different. I think some stuff that comes off cheesy in China could do really well here, or vice versa, right? Like it's just such different styles. And I think any artist team, you can look at a deck and be like, yeah, we approve this strategy, but I think it really takes time and care to embody those and execute them over time. And so I would say, whether it should be a 50-50 split of bandwidth or 80-20, that's kind of dependent on the team, but there does need to be a specific commitment. It can't just be like a side quest that's happening. Obviously, I think it can be tough to maintain both, but I do think that whatever market you're trying to break into, that's really where your focus should be. And then, maybe have a couple team members still maintaining your home market, things like that. And even with your question earlier where you were asking like, okay, what does someone need to say to say, okay, this is viable in China? And I think Christy and May would have a lot more insight on like what those exact metrics would be. But I know that if I have someone here telling me they want to lean into China, I always make sure to ask, like, are you ready to lean in and create a China focused strategy? Go out and play the game, because I can think of a few examples. I used to work with this big Caucasian male white pop artist, very ballady. The music was very suitable for China. He saw that his metrics were going off there and he leaned in. He did an entire Mandarin album. I think had consultants in China he's working with, hired marketing in China, and I think that really, really paid off. And I saw a lot of people try to emulate that, but because they didn't go as far into the investment as him, it didn't work. Like he had to really lean in. To Christy's point about a viral song, I worked with another kind of pop duo that was signed to Warner. They actually had a song called New Heart that was blowing up on Douyin, like out of nowhere. The Chinese doctors thought it was fun because of the heart reference. I think there were a couple pitch decks about what to do. And again, there was just a little too much hesitancy, a little not enough resources for them to just immediately jump on it and go and do something big with it. The moment passed and they really weren't able to do it. And so, going back to the follow-up question you had for me, how do you allocate that bandwidth? Yeah, I think it's team dependent, but there does need to be a specific and intentional allocation.
Yeah, and I think this is kind of the key question, is like, do people how do people get to that level of confidence that it's worth them, that this like adventure is worth it? And I think for a lot of people it's like, are you excited enough? is that could be a key factor. But also another key factor can just be style of music, right? And I think this is something that I'd like to talk to. I think May, we've had discussions about this before. Perhaps so, sometimes that, there might be some enthusiasm there, maybe even the beginnings of some numbers, but it depends on how, like, a really important thing is the music right for the market? And I think it could be helpful here, May, if you could perhaps talk a little bit about at the moment, both for Chinese and Western artists, what are the styles of music that are popular at the moment?
Mm, yeah, yeah, I would, well, the simple answer to this question, I would definitely say it's just pop music in China, or I can call it mandopop or ballad. That's the genre that attracts the most. I mean, the massive appeal. Well, an example would be that a song called "Jumping Machine" 跳楼机 in China. It's pretty ballad, and it went viral for the whole year, for the past year in China, in all the DSPs and in all the social media platforms. Um, yes, definitely, I would say mandopop or ballad is the genre that receives massive appeal. And but other than that, I would say there are also some other genres that I see growth in them. I mean, the number of they starting to attract more and more fans into these kind of other genres like hip hop or like electronic EDM or some Chinese style fusion pop. I would say this kind of genre that blends a lot of traditional Chinese elements into it, and also R&B. That's for the Chinese mainstream, what they like about Chinese artists. But for Western artists, I would say what's already very popular in the Western market are usually very popular in China as well. I would say definitely the pop stars in the US, like The Weeknd, Bruno Mars, Taylor Swift. They're definitely one of the most, popular Western artists in China. And
Mm,
other than that, I would say also pop R&B, Western pop R&B are also very popular in China.
mm. Nice. Maybe Christy, maybe just throw that one to you as well. If you could just name something that is big right now that you've heard recently. That's kind of putting you on the spot, but
Yeah.
who's big at the moment?
Something that's big right now. Oh gosh. I'd say so. There's some acts that has been like big for quite a while. Echoing what May just said, like a pop R&B in the Western realm, Lao being like a long evergreen tree, like a US act that is absolutely massive in China. I went on tour with him 2 times, and he loves shopping. So every time he goes out shopping, there's like a mob of fans outside. Like they have like underground networks. They share his locations and stuff, which is quite dangerous. Um, so like his music style is like incredibly popular in China, and there are quite a lot of artists that has similar styles also has like solid fan base in China. And I would say like Leve also. I think China has grow like a bigger appetite for artists that has like an Asian heritage. Even better if you can speak like a sentence or two of Chinese. It definitely helps a lot. And then lastly, I think just in general on like maybe a little bit outside of genre wise, but I've been noticing that songs with lyrics that are very very relatable has a like a bigger opportunity of having like a organic tractions on Chinese social media platforms. So recently I've had this client that had 2 songs just randomly like demo snippets blow up on Douyin and on Red, and they're talking about like peer pressures, or they're talking about like how to shake off the bullying, the mean words from the world, it's very relatable. So I would say like content that echoes with young people's life issues, sort of like Olivia Rodrigo's Teen Pop, or like Sabrina Carpenter's, about like the female real life problem, blah blah. Like this kind of content also really has a shot in China. It's very preferred. So yeah.
Great. Yeah, this is all super helpful. But so now I would like to shift gears a little bit. I realize we're getting on for time a little bit. So talk about another category of opportunity that happens that exists in China. And that's on the music creation side of things. So this is a super active and vibrant area of growth in China. And I know that all of the panelists have had some exposure to this and are very active. So first of all, May, could you tell us a little bit about the work that you do in the space, and hopefully that will kind of illuminate a little bit of what this kind of vibrant area of business. Are you
Yeah,
pitching
yeah.
songs by non-Chinese songwriters to producers, and how do those deals work, and what does that look like?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, usually our workflow would be that we do receive some briefs for demos from some Chinese artists. Some of them specifically, they are asking for non-Chinese writers, songwriters. Um, yes, then what we do would be that first we would check our current catalog and see if they have any like the current ones that fit. Or we would go to the producers or non-Chinese producers or writers that we work with, and we go to them and then say, hey, here's a brief, and we would like to collect some demos from you if you do have some in this category. And then after we receive it, we would kind of check and listen to it, and then send them once to the artists that we think that might be good fits. And then the artist will pick maybe they just pick one song that they really like, and then we go talk to the writers or the producer, and tell them that hey, here's a Chinese artist, they are really interested in one of your demo, and if we can go on to do move on to do a deal with this specific demo or this specific song. And yeah, and usually I would say the big chance is that for non-Chinese writers or producers, the big chance is that they could work with idol type of artists in China. And the popular genres these idol like artists would pick would be the dance song, or R&B, or some Western pop. And usually I would say, currently in China, these Chinese artists, they are more prefer they would prefer to do buyout deals instead of licensing. But I can see that a slow growth in the number of artists that are open to do licensing deal instead of just pure buyout. Yeah.
That's good. That's great. That's great news. That's what we like to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we can, yeah, I definitely want to come back to that in a sec.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, let's go there now. So now that we're in this with this topic of creation of music IP, a topic that I get asked about all the time is China's copyright environment, since a lot of people have this default assumption that IP protection in China is nearly impossible. But without getting too deep into the weeds, I'd love to talk a little bit about this perception. So, Jen, on the projects that you work on, how often does IP protection in China come up? And do you find there's generally a lack of understanding or perhaps like a wariness about IP licensing in China?
Yeah, I would say it comes up a lot. I would say I'm always on the artist side, right? So I almost see a different side of the same coin of what you're describing is in almost like, I want to say paranoia, but a little bit of a paranoia to wanting to make sure that they have an ironclad lockup of rights. Ironically, I feel like in any other business setting, China's a little more known for handshakes and relying on the strength of your relationship, guanxi, diulian, all of that to enforce things, versus the US is very written document contract heavy. But it's funny because, and I do think because there is so much of a culture of a lack of IP protection in China, I think those superstars that really need to make sure things are locked up are therefore even more stringent on formalities than actually what I see here. For example, in the US, for better or worse, when it comes to things like publishing splits, a lot of people get too busy to get those like full split letters negotiated and signed, right? So a lot of times you're going by email confirmations, make sure everyone's aligned, register them, call them a day. All of my Chinese clients are very, very adamant that every single composition we put out has a fully signed publishing agreement that's very spelled out, long, multiple pages, a lot of things attached. And so I actually think almost the flip side of what you're describing in the market means that those superstars and those kind of high up in the food chain are very formalistic and stringent about locking up their IP or trying to cover all those bases. To May's point, actually, what I'm still seeing a lot is a preference towards buyouts. And I definitely I feel like the East meets West writer camps are such a thing right now. Like, it's funny, I think here in the US, any label or publisher that can flex, like, oh, we're doing a writers camp with NetEase, or oh, we have these relationships, or we have a writer camp in Beijing, that's become a lot more of a strong pitch and value add today than it was before. It's an exciting value proposition. And I think one of the big struggles that I just see in terms of that creative process not having a bunch of sort of business bumps in the road is, again, everyone in China kind of really wanting to do those master buyouts. And then, in the US, a lot of the producers, for better or worse, can get a little offended by the concept. Or alternatively, I can see it kind of becoming unfair to both sides because, one side wants a royalty and they're not getting it. And so in return, they might see very deep pockets in the big Chinese artists and charge maybe higher fees than I would like to see for some of my clients. And sometimes it feels like both sides are kind of having a bit of mistrust for honestly no reason other than differing cultural norms and lack of exposure. And so, sorry, I know I kind of went away from the central IP question, but I think the norms are different, and I think that because of that, there's always a potential for miscommunication, whether it's with different documents or different deal structures, and it'll be interesting to see how it develops over time.
Mm. Right, and I think it's the thing is it's developing very fast. Like this whole side of things in China, the production infrastructure, and so that on that topic, I'd love to touch on this with Christy, because you and Water Sound Studio are very much on the like domestic production and post-production side of things. So can you talk a little bit about what that side of the industry looks like in China? Because my impression is it's developing very quickly and kind of getting to the level of competing with international studios. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So first of all, very interesting fact, because we're mainly on the mixing and recording, mixing and mastering side. And we also did compare notes with international engineers, and we figured out that China actually, like the top engineers, actually gets probably secondly the most out of the whole world engineers. Top is US, of course. So which is quite surprising.
Wow.
Yeah. So we work with mainly local artists. I would say so before like production, recording, like all of the technical side of music from on the China end, they received their technology from Japan, and going to Taiwan, maybe like, and going to Hong Kong, and then it got transferred into mainland China. But now like all the information is everywhere, and a lot of young engineers getting global education. So we're very, very fastly catching up to the global standard. But I'd still say, well, at least with our studio, we are like, we do our work, we do what we're good at, because we're Chinese, and we handle a lot of the like the Chinese lyric songs. But in the meantime, we're also sort of like a hub, like a international hub, because there is a very high demand for international producers and a lot of times mastering engineers. So, for example, we had a lot of requests for wanting to do the mastering at Sterling Sound. And I don't know if this is right, but I think one of May's songs were recorded at our studio a couple of nights ago, and it was a international lyricist, I think, and the artist doesn't really sing English, so I was there doing vocal production for him to make sure that he pronounces every word correctly. So I'd say there are a lot of projects that are having this sort of like a hybrid East meets West, like a team here. So there's definitely a ton of opportunities to be had in this round. But yeah.
Yeah, so when looking for studios and mastering and mixing, I think Water Sound Studio would be a good go-to for anybody who's in the market for that in this chat. So yeah, we are getting on for time here, and I know that we do have a couple of questions that people have been asking. There's so much that we wanted to touch on touring, but I think if we were going to get to questions, I think we maybe Nicole, we could organize another follow-up in whenever you guys have time, so we can cover all the stuff that we didn't cover this time around. But I do know that somebody did ask a question in advance about they wanted us to cover briefly physical product in the market. And that's also a really fun and an exciting area. First of all, let's say May, could you maybe touch on what that looks like for domestic artists?
Yeah, well, I mean, in the music industry right now in China, we still see that some artists they are still, um, making their own physicals like CDs or vinyls. I would say vinyls are probably a bit more popular in China these days, but I wouldn't say they are the mainstream ones or they're the big, where the revenue are coming from. They're not definitely not as making money as the other ones, the other things does, like royalties or like if you're doing tour. But I would say it's more of some artists, they just feel like, yeah, my music, I produce my music and I feel like my music needs a physical, but it's not like that. Hey, the market really wants your physicals. I think
Mm.
it is the current situation right
Kind of
now.
like a vanity thing.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
yeah,
kind
just
of,
fun to
yeah, yeah,
have.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say definitely the big ones, the big celebrities or the big singers, they of course they make a lot of money by making their own physicals. But I'm
Mm,
just talking about in the whole picture, I wouldn't say this makes a lot. This is revenue, generating thing.
right. Just Christy, I know that you've had artists who you've been working on, like consulting on for marketing before, who've toured China and have brought merch with them or had merch made in the market while they're touring. I remember one particular story where all the merch that was being sold at the tours had to be recalled because there was a you, there was a
Oh gosh, yes.
yeah, that was a fun
So
one.
just to circle back a little bit to the physical question, I think a lot of the local artists right now they produce physical as basically as a merch. More closer to the K-pop style where it cannot be just the CD. Like you have to have a poster in it. You have to have the little cards in it. It has to be a collectible. It has to be a total package. If it's just a disc like before, nobody's gonna have any interest to it. It's more about the memorabilia that's around it. That's gonna sell. And so this touches up on merch. So a lot of international artists, when they decide to tour, bringing merch in, it's quite difficult to do, and also the whole custom fee and everything, it's very complicated, and also production price in China is quite low, so they choose to produce in China. But this causes a problem because there are quite a lot of political issues that the small things, the small red flags that you need to be on the lookout for. So we had this one incident where the tour dates was on the back of the t-shirt, and like the artist toured mainland China cities, so it says, for example, like Beijing CN, Shanghai CN, and when it comes to Hong Kong, it became Hong Kong HK, and Taiwan Taipei TW. So they didn't ask us to advise on the design before it went into production and before it was on sale on the merch table. And one of the fans, sorry, go ahead.
That was also made by the biggest Chinese merch producer as well, if I remember that correctly.
Biggest Chinese producer that's faced to the Western
right
clients,
yeah,
sort of. Like, I don't know if that like explains.
Yeah.
So basically that got caught by a fan and who thinks this is unacceptable and wanted a refund, and we had to recall everything, and they put quite ugly patches on those misprinted infos, so it's extra cost, and it was like we were so worried that more fans are gonna this could be potentially career ending, basically, for that artists in China. These kind of things are very, very serious. Yeah.
So make sure you work with someone. Make sure you check your merch design and
Yes.
hire a consultant who knows what they're doing, and then also make sure to run your merch designs past them, because that
Yes.
in that situation
Thanks.
it wasn't.
Thank you. Yes.
So yeah, awesome. I think we'll now go over to the questions. We've had some good questions in the Q&A box. So here's a good one from Jen. How are rights holders managing catalog? Dropbox, some other file sharing platform? This is really good because I saw that Jen introduced herself in the chat from Jen from Disco, and I know that Disco is. I'm actually not sure. Is Disco available in China? Because I know Christy and May, you guys have probably had.
I think I definitely I've used it, but I'm not sure if we do need VPN to get to it. But
right.
Yeah,
I've definitely I've used it before.
But
in China.
I would say that the main platforms that people are using are domestic companies, like the Tencent file sharing options, right? That's generally how people are sharing. Rights holders are managing catalog.
Yeah. So it's like the Google Drive of China, sort of.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there is no, as far as I'm aware, any domestic purpose-built music rights holder rights management platform. So yeah, maybe an opportunity there. So another question from Lawrence. What are the big Chinese EDM acts? And this is also a fun one. Who wants to take that one? What's big Chinese EDM acts? Are there any who are genuinely huge? And I don't know
No,
if anyway.
I don't think so.
EDM is still generally a very niche genre in China. It doesn't have like a long history as some of the other niche genres like rock, and I would like and hip hop. So very little big EDM acts can actually become a proper celebrity. The bigger ones are international ones. But I would say there are a couple of them. For example, Chase, who's recently signed to BMG globally. But he's also like a vocalist himself. So a pure EDM act gets a hard time.
Yeah, I think, well, so Jen works with multiple EDM acts from China and Taiwan who are more focused on or maybe the majority of their fan base is in the US. So Jen, I think you touched on this earlier, but maybe that's the strategy for Chinese EDM, right? Maybe it's US first and then back into China.
I mean, transparently, I don't know if I would say it's US first. I think it's important to have some sort of presence and dominance and network in your home market, right? Because if you came over to the US saying, hey, I'm a mediocre Chinese act that's not a great pitch. I'm not gonna lie.
Right.
I think the more the problem is that you can dominate the market in China and Taiwan as a local artist, but I just think you hit a ceiling. So I work with a Taiwanese EDM artist named Ray Ray. And she chose to kind of start doing her North American strategy after she'd kind of conquered Taiwan. She gets tons of bookings in Southeast Asia, even has a decent presence in Europe, but wanted to become a global superstar by breaking through in the States. And one of the ceilings that she was facing, and this isn't just true for her, but like I said, any artist in the local market, is you end up becoming the favorite support or direct support to whatever the huge US headliner is or European headliner, which I think earlier in your career as you're building is great. But at a certain point, you don't just want to be opening for XYZ Western act. You want to be the headliner. And I do think that's where we're still seeing a lot of potential. Like I don't think there really is that super big originated from China headlining Chinese EDM act that exists yet, but I think that there's a lot of artists trying to do that, and I don't know what the formula is going to be to break through, but I'm really excited to see it happen.
Yes. Nice. And so just quickly on this, the final topic in the Q&A, what's the possibilities to have direct deals to deliver to Chinese market top DSPs? Maybe I could take this one because right, the whole rights and delivery element of it is something that I've got a lot of experience in. I would say that 5 to 10 years ago, there were a lot, you could show up to Tencent or NetEase and say, hey, I have a catalog of music. Here it is on a hard drive. Let's do a direct deal, and you might get some money out of it for exclusivity. I would say those days are over, and it's direct deals unless you are a gigantic company or somebody with a massive viral song in China. Or someone who's really leaned in hard already. That's going to be really difficult to do. I would say your best option these days in terms of getting your music first of all onto the platforms and then the possibility of having it promoted, I would say go with with a distributor who seems to know what they're doing. A lot of the distributors who are with Merlin have experience in China. I've spoken to a lot of them before, but I would say direct, and those deals will generally be pretty good for you as a rights holder. But yeah, direct deals these days not so common unless you have some kind of massive pull in China already, I would say. So I think we're pushing up on time here. Looking to see if there are any other quick ones in the chat. Very quick one. What are good music industry conferences to attend for networking in China? There has never really been any really great one as far as I know. Christy, I would say often going to All That Matters in Singapore is a place where all the Chinese DSPs, well, most of the Chinese DSPs and teams will show up. But I'm not aware of a really great domestic conference.
Yeah, I was gonna say IMX. It's more for like international mix with China kind of like purposes. But if you're looking for like very, very local kind of situations, maybe just find a bar or something that's filled with industry people. It works wonders.
Right.
It works so much better than the like networking events. Yep.
Yeah. So go to Beijing and go to any bar recommendations for where people could find music industry people, Christy?
Yeah, find the 3 major softwares and go near them, and also like go find the NetEase and TME offices, and the places near them are usually great.
What bar can people find you in, Christy? That's the
shoot. Okay. Yes, Naughty Monkey. It's the craft beer bar, and it does have a lot of music industry people there. Like I personally finish deals there. So yeah.
Right. There you go. And, oh, and also we have a shout out in the chat for School Bar in
Yes.
Beijing.
Yes.
Very
Slightly
true.
different side of the industry, but definitely a really great bar that if you're ever in Beijing, it's very worth going to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is 4:01 a.m. in Beijing, so I think we should we should probably wrap it up here. But thank you so much to the panelists. Really enjoyed it and this conversation, and thanks to Nicole as well. I guess we'll hand it back over to Nicole. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you, Alex, for proposing this and leading this. To Jennifer, May, and Christy, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. There was a lot of great information there, for sure, and appreciate you, compromising your sleep to be with us today and share that expertise. So thank you so much. Thank you to everybody who attended. Again, as I said in the beginning, lots of information at musicbiz.org on upcoming events or past recordings. So thank you, and Alex, we'll take you up on that offer to do it again with more information.
Sounds great. We'll do it in person at the conference next time. Maybe we do
I
that.
like that, and I was taking notes on no local China conferences. We might show up there someday.
Hey, let's make it happen. All right.
Thank you
Thank you
all.
so much, everybody.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.